All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. Well, the twists and turns of the Paramount Warner Brothers potential merger continues to keep rolling and going. As many of you guys remember, Ellison made a promise, at least he made a declaration, that the combined studio, he said that we would put out 30 movies a year, which seems like a lot. But now he's going one step further. As in this new story from Deadline, he's now saying, I'll put it in writing. I'll make it a contract that we will guarantee 30 films a year. This is what Deadline wrote. When it comes to Paramount's legal wrestling with 12 state attorney generals' antitrust case over the Melrose Lot's possible merger with Warner Brothers, the key is to divide and conquer with exhibition. Deadline knows that Paramount has a written commitment to at least one of the top two circuits, specifically Regal, for 30 films annually over 3 years, with an exclusive 45-day theatrical window and a 90-day window to streaming. There's buzz that AMC has also had a written commitment from Paramount, but the circuit's boss, Adam Aron, emphasized to Deadline on Sunday afternoon, AMC has no comment on this story, period, nor have we ever had any commitment on this or comment on this story. All right. There's a couple of things to note here that I think are at least relevant to the discussion. The first thing is, as it pertains to the lawsuit, it doesn't matter what movie theaters do or do not like. This is now an issue for law and the courts at that point. Now, the second thing that needs to be brought up is that this all sounds very good. And I don't say that facetiously. I mean, making a firm commitment and putting it in writing that you will commit to putting out in theaters 30 films a year. And you're going to put in writing, unlike what some of the other, like there are some other studios saying they're making commitments now to 45-day theatrical windows, but they're not putting it in writing. To say I'll put it in writing, that's going to be a 45-day theatrical exclusive window and at least 90 days until it starts streaming. That is also very good. I like hearing that. I really do. There are, however, a couple of devil in the details little things. First of all, it does say for 3 years. 3 years is the length of a cell phone contract. Some of them at any rate. 3 years comes and goes real quick. What happens after those 3 years? Why not a 10-year commitment or a 15-year commitment? Those would be hard. Those would be very hard to do, but those would be real commitments. The second thing, though, is they don't say what kind of movies they'd be putting out. It's great to say you're going to put out 30 films a year. That is great. It's absolutely wonderful. However, are these going to be 30 $100 million films? Or is it going to be $350 million films and 27 $2 million films that aren't going to make anything at the box office or bring anybody in? But hey, we met our commitment. We did say 30 films. Are they going to put
15?
Jackass 15?
Right. Yeah.
Just bring it back in. Paw Patrol 47. I don't know.
Yeah.
So like when you say you're going to bring in all this stuff, what are you saying you're doing? Like, is that going to be in writing too? That we make that we're going to do 30 films a year that on average will run a production budget of about $75 million. I mean, I would be okay with that, but they're not putting that in writing. So what kind of films are you putting out in theaters? Because at some point it becomes cheaper just to crank out cheap crap and say you met your commitments. But there's also this other little elephant in the room, guys, that I have to bring up. If the best case scenarios happen across the board and everything goes the way that Paramount wants this to go, when it's all said and done, under their best case scenario, this is a company that will be $111 billion in debt, running up $5+ billion a year in interest on that. Multiple millions of dollars a day in interest. Is this a studio, despite best intentions, that is going to be even in a place where it can produce 30 legit full theatrical films a year. There might be some creative accounting dancing around to do that. So maybe yes. So look, in general, I like what David Ellison is proposing. I like a written commitment. I like committing to 45 days theatrical window. I like a lot of that stuff, but it still leaves several huge questions on the table. Like, okay, why is it only 3 years? What budget of movies are you talking about putting out in theaters? How much of a commitment are you making? Because it doesn't help the movie theaters at all if you put out 30 films, but you don't spend any money on marketing those films. What kind of a marketing commitment are you making for those 30 films? And lay out for us exactly how you're going to pay for 30 films a year when your company is going to be over $100 billion in debt. I just think these are big. Again, I like what David Ellison's saying, but I would like to see these questions answered as well. Now, in response to this thing that David Ellison put out, as well as some comments David Ellison made recently about saying, oh, this is really just about CNN. The attorney general at the lead of this lawsuit, Bonta from California, he wrote an op-ed piece today in Deadline that addresses all the things that David Ellison's talking about. And this is what he wrote. Bonta wrote the following. He said, despite the spin you may have heard in recent weeks, the lawsuit my colleagues and I filed challenging the Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Brothers merger isn't about trusting the intentions of one company or one man. It isn't about trusting that CBS News and CNN will remain independent and credible under one umbrella. It isn't about the future of streaming. The lawsuit is about antitrust law. It is a straight-up antitrust enforcement case. One that is very cut and dry. One that seeks to prevent the long-term structural impact of the loss of competition, an impact that cannot be remedied with a few one-off piecemeal promises. So while others may try to flip the script and distract from the facts, I will lay out this case. And basically, he just goes on to talk about the fact that, things that we have talked about on this show before, that this is not just like, say, the Disney and Fox takeover, because Fox still exists. Fox is his own company still. Disney just bought certain assets from them. The streaming world was not what it was today. This is not just one of the biggest movie theater or movie production companies. It's also one of the biggest distributors and one of the biggest streaming networks merging in and taking over another one of the biggest studios, biggest distributors, and biggest streaming outlets. And basically what it all comes down to is a simple thing. Does this merger violate Section 7 of the Clayton Act? And when the attorney generals brought this to a judge and asked for a initial restraining order to be put in place to bar Paramount and Warner Brothers from closing their deal, the judge looked at it and ruled this. Yes, it does seem that this is a violation of Section 7 of the Clayton Act. And the judge ruled, since it appears that you are likely to prevail in this case, proving that this violates Section 7 of the Clayton Law, we are going to grant the temporary injunction. Now, when the judge granted that injunction, it sent really Paramount spiraling. They knew they were going to lose the next hearing, so they agreed to put it off for a year. Now, with the trial date set, guys, for March, I don't see any conceivable way they're going to be able to finish everything off and proceed before the June 4th deadline when Zazlav can come in, declare the deal off, and collect a $7 billion check from Paramount. So it's interesting. I still think there is an avenue here, guys, that David Ellison can propose something radical, something very big, that the attorney generals can then go, okay, if you do those things, and they would have to be big. They would have to be it's not just CNN. It's got to probably be several other major pieces on the board, and say, we'll exclude this and this and this and this from the deal. I think a deal can still be reached and they can go ahead and merge their companies, whatever that merger would look like at that point. So, Kristian, I like a lot of stuff I'm hearing David Ellison say. The 30 films commitment, the 45-day theatrical commitment. it raises questions about how are you even possibly going to do that? And at the end of the day, as the California Attorney General is now jumping up and saying, this lawsuit isn't about any of that. This lawsuit is about Section 7 of the Clayton Act. And one judge has already ruled this is in violation of that. So I don't know. What do you think about these commitments that David Ellison is now making to the theaters? What do you like about them? What makes you nervous about them? And how do you see this whole thing ending up now?
Well, the commitments, I said this before, what it sounds like is that as Jonathan was mentioned before, people want to go back in the theater. People want to see movies in the theater. And it sounds like a guy who was running for high school president who goes, guys, if I win, you get pizza every day and you get to bang the head cheerleader and the quarterback in the toilet whenever you want. And it's like, really? I don't know. I don't know if I buy it, but it sounds fun. But 30 movies is a lot. And so I don't necessarily know if they can swing that, because the other side of it is too, it's not just a matter, John, like you said, with the marketing and all that. It's a matter is people got to want to see them.
Yeah.
It's we're going to make all of them. Well, great. You're not going to make 30 Odysseys. You're not going to make 30 Spider-Mans. You got to that's kind of the goal. And like you said, well, what else are you going to make? And are you going to be able to put these things in it? If it is it also a caveat of, well, we would probably make this for streaming and it'll be for Paramount Plus, but we'll give it a limited theater release.
Yeah,
so
like a 2
week, technically we're putting it out in the theaters.
Yeah,
but
10 theaters.
Right. It's technically, we did put it out in theaters. So there's always those little caveats here and there. But what I do like about it is that even without the Warner Brothers acquisition already, they're making moves and trying to do stuff with their IPs that they have, the G.I. Joe thing, the Transformers thing. The other thing is the Star Trek. They're trying to make things happen of the existing IPs that they already own. If they start to get into the Warner Brothers side of things and they can make the DC movies, this is another reason why if this commitment is actually real, there's no world where the slate that James Gunn and Safran put together of side quest movies, they're going to go, we promised people 30 movies, get Batman and Wonder Woman in the theater already. That's what's going to happen immediately. In the same way that they have, maybe you'll see a Cursed Child Harry Potter movie. Maybe you'll see the Game of Thrones movie will push forward even more. So there'll be, because of the acquisition, 30 movies becomes a little bit more doable, but the legal side of it, this is why I watch your show for that side of things, because like when I'm looking, it just hurts my head when all the deals and the things that are going to happen and potentially could happen. I do agree with you though. I think that the money that this company has and the money that this family has, they're going to say, listen, they're going to tell their lawyers, we pay you guys more than anybody pays lawyers. Figure out a way to make this happen. Figure out a way. What do we need to do? What do we have to get rid of? Who do we have to bribe? what do we have to do? And they're going to do, and kidding, of course, with the last part of it, but they're going to say, what do we need to do? And they're going to make some kind of deal, and they're going to do everything they can, because like you said, John, they don't want to be continuously losing billions of dollars in order to get this thing, because then it's going to be like, why are we even doing this?
Just a quick note to I see some people in the live chat saying, and I've heard a lot of this saying, well, it's a biased Supreme Court. So whatever it is, the Supreme Court is just going to make it work for the Ellisons. Here's the problem. The problem is, and this is what I pointed out, the timeline of this legal process makes it as such in that legally this cannot get to the Supreme Court prior to that June 4th deadline date. That is when, the folks at Warner Brothers, David Zazlav, has the contractual right to call off the deal. And it won't get to the Supreme Court by that point. And so that's why there's going to have to be a lot of dancing. I think there's going to have to be a lot of dancing. So,
John, did I ask you this before? Because this is, and if we talked about it on your show before, I apologize. But I've thought, is there any world? Because I know you think you give a lot of credit. I call him Zoloft, but I know you give him credit. He's a smart guy. There's no doubt about it. He's a very smart guy. Is there any world where he kind of Emperor Palpatine this and saw this kind of come in and said, look, if we sell it, great, we sell it, we get this money. But the chances are they're going to have to owe us so much money for this deal never going through that we'll just operate on their money. Like once we're able to.
He has that. If John, if you want to tell him about the memo that internal memo to the employees.
So this happened a number of months ago, and this was in Variety and all that kind of stuff. David Zazlav sent out, there was kind of a virtual town hall thing with Warner Brothers employees. And a question was asked, well, what happens if the deal doesn't go through? To which it's a very short statement, but it's one that says a lot. And he said, well, if it doesn't go through, we carry on with business as usual and we collect a $7 billion check.
Right.
And it was at that moment, it was at
Unlimited
that moment.
Power.
Yeah, it was at that moment. And I went, holy crap. Yeah. David Zazlav is playing 3D chess here while everybody else is playing checkers. Yeah. This may have been a part of his plan all along. I'm not saying it is.
That. I mean, I heard that a whole deal.
And Sarandos is looking out his window like Penguin looking out over Gotham City.
Yeah. So here, think about this. Think about this.
In the horizon.
Remember, Netflix and Warner Brothers had a deal.
Yeah.
And the only way that deal could be broken is if, number one, Paramount pays Netflix a $2-point-something billion breakup fee. So Paramount had to pay Netflix $2-something billion for nothing, and have it written into the merger deal with Warner Brothers that if we cannot complete, you guys get a $7 billion check. So I can just picture Zazlav and Ted Sarandos on the phone one night, like sipping bourbon and going, all right, let's do this. You get a $2 billion check. We get a $7 billion check. And then we do the merger anyway later, just like a year or two. Again, I'm not saying that is what's happening. I'm just saying it would. I would not doubt it if that's the case.
The problem is that if we've thought about it,
they thought about it.
And we have thought about
100%.
it. So,
all right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about that? David Ellison is, in honesty, and to give credit where credit's due, I think he is saying the right things right now. I'll put into writing a 30-day commitment. I'll put into writing, or a 30-film commitment. I'll put into writing a 45-day theatrical window commitment. It's just that it still raises other questions that need to be addressed. And then the states are saying, none of that matters. This is an issue of law. So I don't know. What do you see happening here, guys? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Ultra Pouches. A lot of people use nicotine thinking it'll give them a little extra focus or even help before a workout. But nicotine is a vasoconstrictor. It narrows your blood vessels and can actually work against that pump and recovery that you're looking for. That's where Ultra Pouches come in. What you're really going to like about them is that they're 100% nicotine-free and caffeine-free. They're designed to give you smooth energy and focus without the nicotine crash. Pop one in before a workout or when you're sitting down for a long work session, and it's an incredibly convenient little boost. Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch, delivering instant focus and mental clarity without nicotine or caffeine. New customers can use the code CAMPEA to get 15% off at takeultra.com. That's TAKEULTRA.com for 15% off with the code CAMPEA. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that our show sent you.